Okay, I haven't done an update in a little bit. I thought I would let y'all know. I took a few days off work, which of course I've hardly ever done for years and years now because the economy's been so bad and I couldn't afford the days off. Even if people talk about a staycation sometimes in recent years. You still need the money from the days you take off, and since I'm a personal contractor, I don't get any money when I don't work. Um, I took a few days off. I had found out my father passed away, and I had some lingering need for time off ever since 2020 when my brother had passed away. I'd never been able to take the time to deal with that in my mind. I mean, I dealt with it some, but as far as could you benefit from a few days of staycation or vacation or therapy or something? I just kept working. So when I found out that my father passed away, I took the rest of that work day off. I found out in between two students, and I just called my office and I said, I'm going to go ahead and go to this one that I'm supposed to go to right now, but cancel my last one. Tell them I've had an emergency. I think they were kind of worried about me, like maybe I shouldn't even go to that next one, but I figured I had a few minutes to pull myself together, and I didn't want to drop them at the last minute that close to it, even though I was dropping the other student with not so much notice. And then I kept working for another week or two. But I did do this thing that I had been thinking about doing before, and I didn't know if I could afford to do it, so I'd sort of blocked the time off because the way my schedule works at work, I have to block the time off really far in advance, or I feel like I'm doing something wrong to someone. People book their appointments pretty far in advance. So when this came up and I still didn't know how am I going to deal with this financially, that I'm trying to take a few days off, then I was really glad I had these days booked like that. And I looked at it, despite the brain fog, I tried to think, I think I can do this. I think it's going to be okay. God will make a way. I know I have enough money for rent on the first, which is, the first thing of the month. That's the very first day I have to pay rent. I paid that. I had enough money that I thought it would be fine. I knew it could still get bad later because just things add up so quickly sometimes. Like if you're away from home and you spend a little more per day on what you're doing than you usually would. We got an Airbnb. We had it for a Saturday night, a Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We had it for 5 nights. And it was pretty cheap Airbnb, as those kind of things go, a lot less than if we'd stayed in a hotel. And it worked out pretty decently for us. I know there were a little bit of downsides with that one that some people might not have liked, but it was pretty good for us. At least it wasn't one of the kind of places that smells terrible or has bed bugs, or there's a lot worse out there compared to what we got. I've been thinking about this, about possibly leaving him a review, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to leave him a bad review. But I don't know if I can leave a top-notch review enough to make it worth it. Maybe I just shouldn't review it. So anyway, that's a separate subject. We went to Tampa for a few days. I got a place to stay. We don't ever eat out. We don't eat convenience foods. Deli roast beef, even just to have a slice of deli meat and roll it up, has gotten too expensive. There's a few brands of deli roast beef that don't have there's a few brands that don't have a ton of additives that are actually maybe acceptable almost. But that's just gotten way too expensive. It's like $22 a pound sometimes for some of them. So there's no version of fast food or convenience food hardly out there that we can have. So we cooked in the kitchen of the person. We had a room in the house that they were renting out multiple rooms. I'm actually not sure that the owner actually ever stays there. It might be that all the rooms were being rented out. It was about, I forget, $50 or $55 a night. And we were near the place I'd gone to college, which I didn't finish, by the way. I'm a dropout. But I'd gone to college for like a year and a half at one point. A very nice place. That's a tiny little campus with all people who tend to all have some form of similar beliefs to each other. It was the right kind of place for me to be at the time. It was actually really good for me. And that college does a lecture series every February. And most of the years, all these years since I'd been in college, I usually have never gone. Most of the time I lived in a different state, and not that you don't travel to it from a different state. Some people do, but I never had been much in the habit of doing that. I think I'd gone once or twice over the years. And now I've been back down here in Florida since 2020. It's 2026 now. I've been down here 5 years because I came in December of 2026, and we just got past December of 2025. And I was like, man, I'm living this close. How come I never get to go to lectures? It's an hour and 20 to an hour and 30 minutes to drive from where I live to where that college is. This year I finally went. That's what I did for a few days. That was really, really, really good for me, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I got a lot out of it. It was really good. It's usually a topic about the Bible, biblical lectures. This year the whole theme was about the Gospels. So got back to basics, but sometimes when you think you already know the basics, you're not sure you get a lot out of going back to the basics, but you can. They were excellent talks. It was really good to be there. And one talk that was not actually about the Gospels exactly. Man, I've heard him speak plenty of times, actually, the one that I'm thinking of right now. I did not go to his lecture. When we were trying to decide what to do in that time slot, I was like, well, we get to hear Nathan any old time, because we could get to hear him preach on Sundays sometimes. Let's go to this other one that's for ladies, and we did, and it was really good. It wasn't like I was sorry I went to it, but later, because we weren't getting to go to the evening lecture that night, because of my health, I can't really be out in the evenings very often. I did do the Monday night lecture, but Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday we did not do the evening lectures. We went back to our Airbnb and hung out, and just the way I do at home, I have to have evening hours that I'm just like a staycation kind of situation. I have to, if I don't use my evening very carefully to be kind of coming down from the day and getting into a relaxed state, I'll never sleep at all at night with the kind of health things I've been dealing with in recent years. But I was back at the Airbnb, not doing the evening lecture, and they had been live streaming their lecture, so I was able to go to YouTube and listen to his lecture, which was on the topic of suffering. Why do we have suffering, and how do you deal with suffering as a Christian? It was really, really, really good. I needed that. So anyway, all that babbling about, I went out for a few days, and then my car had a problem, and I ended up having to buy a new battery on the Thursday we were going to drive home from Tampa. I was not great in my budget. And then bought the battery at a Walmart, went and parked in the front parking lot after I'd been to the side at the automotive thing and got the battery. Went around to the front and went in to get kitty litter, and we were just grabbing a few other things, and that wouldn't go through at the register, and I found out I was so much lower in my account than I thought. Brain fog. Well, it's not worth going into, but if you've had it, you know, and if you don't, you would think those of us who have it can't possibly survive in life, because it's terrible, some of the stuff it'll cause. I was kind of freaking out a little, of course, a little emotionally, feeling the thing in the chest. You're like, oh, what have I done, or what is wrong that's happened, but hopefully it's not my fault. But just thought maybe it can be something that can be understood and can be fixed. I'll check tomorrow morning. I don't do well with looking at it on my phone screen, so I don't do that. I went into the bank the next morning, so I just made myself be calm and pray and get through the night. I was fine. I slept that night. The next morning I went in, it was not. I kind of thought if there was something easy that I could find out, oh, it's this, and we can fix this, or it'll get fixed naturally anyway, it'll be fine. I thought maybe the Airbnb or some other Airbnb I had tried to book before but didn't actually get, maybe there was a hold on my car that was about to be let up anyway, or that by contacting them I could get it let up. That wasn't it. It was my brain fog and something I had messed up that can't be fixed, because it just is what it is. I had been thinking all the time, I was planning, do I have what I need, and can I get through these few days and then get back to work and still get through the next month with the pay I'll get for this month. But no. The thing that had come out was like $412. I forget exactly how much, and that's the thing, is I don't remember how much I owe on certain things sometimes. Whatever it was my car payment, and I thought, I had been thinking as if it was going to come out on the 15th, but it came out on the 5th. So it messed me all up. That was terrible. So those kind of moments that people can get when you're not able to function well enough cognitively, they're just absolutely terrible. They're terrible. It's hard to live this way. I don't know how anyone could not want to get healthier when you see the people around you in the world, that the whole world is starting to look so unhealthy. And it's clear that a lot of people are getting mental health problems, but it is not clear that many people are really paying any attention to the idea of trying to get better. It's blowing my mind all the time, over and over again in recent years. But anyway, so then I also decided to fast. I thought, well, we really literally can't even afford to buy groceries for this week. There's probably enough odds and ends at home for Lisa to eat for the week, and I'll just fast. And I decided actually to do a dry fast. You get a little bit of different kind of healing and different mechanisms happening in your body when you're dry fasting compared to with water. And I thought, well, I'll start out with dry fasting for a few days and see how that goes. And it went pretty well up until today. So probably started around, I would say 5:30 on last Thursday, and went through just today. I would have gotten up to 4 days if I'd gone to 5:30 today, but I didn't quite get that far. So past the 3.5 day mark, working on day 4. It was about 12:05, something like that today when I started rehydrating, which can be really hard to rehydrate afterwards. Just like if you fast for however long, the refeeding period has to be done carefully and slowly. Rehydrating can have some little effects. Usually when I've dry fasted in the past, I don't have problems with it, but every now and then I have had this thing, and I had it today, which was unfortunate, and I wouldn't normally have done this way. I wouldn't advise that people do this way, but because I still have to work, man, there's a reason why I got to go off into the wilderness when you fast. Someday I'm going to do one like that as a fast dedicated to God. The praying and fasting is so good, and they go together so well, even if you're doing the fast for a different reason. But anyway, I have to work. I had to go back to work. I worked on Saturday. It was totally fine. I felt really good most of all of the 3 days that I had been fasting up until working on day 4 today. And what happened today is with my students, I kept getting dry mouth. And you can probably tell right now in making the video, I'm having a hard time talking. But my mouth, the tissues inside my mouth are like sticking together. I'm going to take a sip of water. I'm taking these teeny tiny little sips. But anyway, I was dry fasting up through the day, had this noon student, and it was a lesson 1. It's the first time I ever met him. It was very clear from very early on that there was no way I wasn't going to be talking incessantly throughout the drive. There wasn't going to be any. Sometimes with a really good driver, they're already picking it up faster. They've already had a lot of lessons. Sometimes they don't need you to say much. So I am kind of a talker anyway, but sometimes, occasionally, you can be more quiet in the car. It was obvious I was going to have to talk with this young man. There was an extraordinary amount of need for me to be interacting with him constantly. We get a lot of students who the reason they bought lessons isn't just because it's smart. We get that too, thank goodness. We get some who are good students and easier. But we get an awfully high percentage of students who are really challenged in life. There's so much of the American society as a whole going down. Epigenetically, we've been going down. People are generationally less healthy now than my generation was. My generation is epigenetically less healthy than their parents and grandparents. It's a generational thing that is truly stepping down. I think from my grandparents' generation, at least, it was already started, maybe further back, I don't know. It's amazing to me that so few people seem to have caught on compared to how many have. But now, a lot of people have compared to 20 years ago, so at least there's some improvement in that way. Some people are working hard. Some people are really doing some smart things to get better. But anyway, going back to this young man, he's very challenged, and learning to drive is, I'm not sure yet if he can drive safely at all, but he can drive with me a little bit, enough. I did have to stop him at one point and pull over on the side of the road and I don't usually do this. This is not my teaching style when I can avoid it, but it was just super firm, clear, no nuance instructions to say, you have to listen to me. If I say stop the car and you don't stop the car right away, we can't do these lessons. And with certain types of challenges that some people are facing, that I'm being incredibly clear and firm and straightforward works better for some of the young men. Lori, it's so hard to talk when your tissues within your mouth are trying to stick to each other. And the dry mouth was killing me today, obviously, with him. So 12:05-ish, 5 minutes into his drive, I realized I'm going to have these sips of water. I'm going to have to start getting the tissues in the mouth rehydrated. And the way to do this that I would recommend to people is you take the smallest sip you can possibly get of a teeny bit of water in your mouth, and you just hold it there for as long as you can before you swallow. And then you do that again and again for a few hours, or for however long it takes. It might not take a few hours, but I guess I got a little bit too big of a sip, and I had 2 sips of water that I couldn't hold in my mouth very long because then I'd have to speak again. And then it started within a few minutes that you can get a thing, and I got it, where all of a sudden your body's like, whoa, things are moving again. The digestive system's about to come into play again. There's going to be a TMI. Just skip a couple minutes if you can't take it. There's a lot of TMI with fasting. It was a feeling of there will be extreme urgency that I have to get to a bathroom. And not what you would think if you are thinking liquids, gotta go pee. Nope. The other way around. Even though it's liquids and they would go through the bladder and come out again that way. The other thing. And unfortunately, something that would have an urgency, like, whoa, got to get there, can't take time. So we did manage. I was praying about it in my head while we're going. We managed to get all the way back to a place that I knew was going to have a bathroom and that I could get into. And I did get there in time, thank heavens. And it's just, Like I said, it's an urgent situation, and it happens the way it happens. I didn't even bother looking. I know some people, and I've read into this stuff online all the time and discussed with people who are willing to discuss all the TMI. It's fine with me if someone needs to talk about that kind of thing, or if I have a reason to read about it. People looking at a scale with 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever the numbers are, and talking about exactly what kind of consistency they had. But and I've done that before, but I would say I didn't even look this time. I don't care. You could tell from the feel. There was at least some liquid involved, and I just don't care beyond that. And then I still needed to keep rehydrating, and I didn't know if I'd be able to. So I was working at it throughout his drive, which is every drive I do with my students is 2 hours, working at it to try to, to try to take the teeniest sips possible. So I was taking sips so small into my mouth that the tissues in my mouth would absorb the water, and none of it would make its way down my throat to be swallowed later for the first, hour after that. And then maybe they got a tiny bit bigger later. I think some of them started to make it into the throat. I'm not really sure if they were making it down to my stomach, but it was what was working to get those tissues to start rehydrating, as those tissues inside my mouth and throat were absorbing water. And now, during this next student drive I'm about to go do in a few minutes, I will make them a tiny bit bigger again eventually. Excuse me. Eventually. Maybe not even until after the end of the drive. It's been since noon to right now is, let me think, 2:30, 2:40-ish it would be about right now. And you can see I have not had very much of this water. By 5 o'clock, I don't know if I'll get up to half the water bottle or what, but maybe not. So dry fasting is a wonderful thing. I felt really good most of the time up until the dry mouth thing started this morning with the first student. And I don't know, maybe I'll keep water fasting now for a while, or maybe I'll end up starting to eat by tonight or tomorrow morning. Who knows? I try to go into these things as loosely as I can, and since we cannot go out and buy groceries right now up until after I get my next paycheck in the bank, and I don't even know how much I can buy out of that because I got to start saving for the next times there are big things to come out. And anyway, I don't know. It was so worth it to go to the lectures. You can't just have, it's so hard to have a life where you never get any time off and you never get anything extra that you might have otherwise benefited from. It was really good to get to go to that and be around Christians all week, and just so much edification out of it. It was wonderful. So anyway, I'm going to go get a student now in a moment, and I'm going to keep rehydrating. And I'm sure there's plenty of things over the last few weeks that I could tell you all about that might be good to include, since I'm trying to document things. But as previously mentioned, I don't want to make a million videos that basically say I'm not making good progress. I'll try to make one again in the next day or two to describe some things about how the sears symptoms have been going, if I can make the time for that. God bless y'all.